Hi, my name is Caitlin Turnwood. I'm the author of the fantasy series Super, and on this channel I teach people how to write, publish, and market their novel the right way the first time. In this particular video, I am talking about how to plan/write a series, and this is important if you possibly think that you are going to be writing a series, to find out if your book is meeting the right criteria on whether it should be a standalone or a series. You should go watch my video, Should You Write a Series? This is important to make sure that you know that you are writing a series for this video, otherwise you are literally wasting your time. This is not for standalones, this is for series. So sorry to all you writers who write standalones. Please like and subscribe anyway. Okay, so why do you need to plan a series? Why can't you just do what I did at first and just start writing? The thing is, planning a series, if you plan correctly, it keeps you motivated, it keeps you on track. With a series, it's typically a larger story, and so it's harder to keep everything in line. Every book itself needs to have its outline, but even the overarching, all the books, like all together, need to have their own outline on what big happens in between, and you need to know which events go where and how to correlate those two. It also keeps you motivated, and how you're going to keep yourself motivated. I'm going to be giving some examples as I give these steps. So 1, in your first step of outlining or planning a novel, you're going to have to look at what is the overall idea. What is each book? Each book is going to point in the direction of the overarching plot. It's not always necessarily the main plot in every single book, but it is the main plot throughout the whole book. It's going to be the plot that is always consistent and is the main purpose of the series. Because you subscribe to me and you watch all the rest of my videos, you know that I don't really care for cliches. But I do sometimes do a cliche thing, like refer to Harry Potter. Harry Potter's a great book, and everyone knows Harry Potter, like the series. And so whenever people refer it, most people know what they're talking about. I'm about to have a Harry Potter example. And I don't like saying Harry Potter examples because everyone else does it, but I do them anyway. I bite the bullet, I put my ego on the back burner, so that way you understand what I'm talking about. Your overarching idea over all of them. In Harry Potter, the overarching main idea of the whole series is killing Voldemort and defeating the bad guy. That is to save the world. That is literally what all the books contribute to. That is the main plot of the whole story. Now everyone has their own main story, and the main story contributes to the main plot over the whole thing, which is what I'm about to get to. Another example that's not as cliche, but still I would put it in the cliche pile, is Hunger Games. Hunger Games, the overarching plot is rebelling against the government to earn their freedom, or so that way they're treated right and they have a better life. That is the overarching plot of that trilogy. Now you're here to create a series. You're going to need 2+ goals to get there. These goals are going to be the main idea of each story. These are big goals, but they're not as big as the main plot. They're just going to be goals for the individual books. For example, the first book of the Harry Potter series, is its main goal is to discover who wants the Sorcerer's Stone and why. And that contributes to the main plot because it reveals that Voldemort wants it because Voldemort wants to come back. Well, that is where you're revealed that, hey, Voldemort is indeed trying to return, and he probably is going to. It even mentions at the end that there are other ways that he can return. So that's how you keep going. The second one is about the Chamber of Secrets. And the main plot in that is that Voldemort is wanting to come back through the diary and trying to get power through the snake. Through the snake. I'm a writer, I promise. Okay. I also read, I promise. Okay. Each main point in Harry Potter reveals something about the main plot. This is the same in the Hunger Games trilogy. The first one, she is just trying to survive in the Hunger Games. She's not really pondering the thought at all about rebellion. Anyway, so what that does to the overarching plot is it kind of shows that, hey, the government is basically being ran by a dick. And basically, it also starts a significant of Katniss, as you know, Katniss is like the symbol of hope and all that stuff. It starts it all, basically, and so that's how that contributes to its main overarching plot of rebellion. If you didn't have that book, then you wouldn't really know why they rebel. Lastly, this is going to be the goals, kind of like okay, let's recap. You have one overarching goal, main thing of the whole series. Okay, you have the main plot of your series. Then you have the big goals of the main plots of each book that contribute to the series. Then you have to have obstacles that prevent the character from getting to those main goals that could possibly damage them winning the main plot. In Harry Potter, these include Professor Snape. This includes Draco. This includes regular school life and rules. This prevents him from just doing whatever he wants and just getting the job done in the first place. There's also a lot of mystery in it. Each obstacle that the character experiences within the individual plots. There are consistent obstacles that occur throughout the whole series, and then there are just obstacles that occur once in that individual book, and that's what makes that individual book in your series unique on its own. For example, consistent obstacles in Harry Potter include Professor Snape, Draco. Another example would be his school life and the rules. That prevents him from pretty much consistently just achieving his goals and protecting Hogwarts, and they cause trouble. Individually in books, the basilisk, the snake in Chamber of Secrets, there's one. That individually in Chamber of Secrets is the obstacle. I mean, you look at it and you can die. If you look at its reflection, you turn into stone. I mean, that's an obstacle. You can't look at the thing you're fighting at. So you can't look at your enemy. So that's an obstacle, but it only occurs in the Chamber of Secrets. Another example would be Umbridge, which is in the Order of Phoenix. Yeah, I mean, she's also mentioned somewhere else. But basically, she sets a whole bunch of rules that ends up squandering their goals and their way that, she's like the main problem in that book. But she's not the main problem in all the other books. She only really is a problem once. She's mentioned in the last one. But, she's not like a huge figure, if you know what I mean. In Hunger Games, consistently, the Peacekeepers and Forbringers are a consistent obstacle that she has to go through because they're just not nice people. Another consistent obstacle has to be poor resources. I mean, they have to fight for survival because they have lack of food and they don't have necessarily adequate equipment to survive. And so that is a consistent need that they're always worried about. Protection as well. They're worried about all that. Also, the love triangle, that causes issues. That's pretty much throughout the whole series. Now, individually, tributes cause problems. In the Hunger Games, there are other competitors in the Hunger Games that only really cause trouble in that one book. For example, in the first book, they're all pretty much new at the Hunger Games. So they have good people, bad people. But they're not mentioned because they all die. But they're not mentioned in all the other books, pretty much. Another individual problem would be the tributes in the second, Catching Fire. That would be an individual problem because they are skilled and some of them are against Katniss, but they're not really mentioned in the third or the first one. And then in the third one, there's Coin, there's the whole war, Now we're going to talk about what I did. I happen to have done it kind of the wrong way, but I have an interesting story on how Supers came into mind. What I kind of did is I had one large book of Supers in my head, of course. I just outlined the whole book. Basically, I found breaks to where there was a large period of time where nothing happened. And there was also where something happened to where the whole story shifted, as in characters changed, their motivations, their roles changed, and I found breaks to where I could add a good cliffhanger, and basically that's how I made my series, because Supers is such a large story. I mean, it takes place over 10 years, and it's so large. As in, at the end of my first book, I mean, there's something that hasn't happened within 8 months. Nothing happens, and that's the end of the book, and the transition to the second book. The second book is 8 months after the first book. Also, characters change their roles. There are new characters introduced in the second book that really have little to no significance in the first book, but are really kick butt in the second one. Like my favorite character, Teresa. I could put her in my first one, but whatever. That's a different story. But yeah, basically there has to be something drastically changed. I was able to tell in my story where every story could have their own story, kind of, and they all contributed to the overarching plot of defeating the bad guy or their creator. I'm trying really hard to give my book as an example without spoiling it because I want you to go buy it. But anyway, what's the point in buying it if you know what's going to happen? So I can't just give that away. Okay, sorry. And of course, at the end of every book except the ending, go watch my cliffhanger video to put a good cliffhanger at the end and get them to read the second one. The end. The thing is I didn't write with an outline. I mean, but